All right. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna talk about what's termed as unconventional training. So unconventional means things that you don't normally see in a normal gym, right? So using things like a mace or a club. And the reason unconventional, because it's just different, but it also requires a lot of balance and control and stability and all the stuff that comes with it, right? That's why there's different weights for these. We have 5 all the way up to 25 on clubs. But if you try holding one of these, you're like, whoa, right? You feel that tension. So one thing we use it for is not only stability work, but also mobility work. So what I've learned later on after using this for a few years now is people use them for more creating motion, creating space, right? So we call it momentum mobility. So just swinging it alone, I'm creating space in my shoulder. And if I start swinging it across my body, right, same thing. Distraction at the shoulder, getting my hips to sink. It's just patterns, moving my feet, getting my hips to turn. But that's all we're really trying to work on, is creating this mobility and not necessarily like having to lift this thing. So I think that's not the point, right? The point is to actually let the momentum take you through the pattern, whether it's holding above the head or it's rotating with it, whatever we're trying to do with it. But I'm not trying to muscle it up there, right? That's just getting that range of motion. So same goes for like a mace. You know, probably the most famous thing people do with maces is that 360. And people, you know, this is the one that everybody likes to see and do. It's just using the head. Fix my hat. It's pretty intense. But again, I use the momentum of the head to take it around me. I'm just stabilizing it. All right, so when you teach somebody how to do that, you teach them how to control their core into different spaces. So again, this is the heaviest one. I don't recommend people starting something like that. And we encourage creating motion and mobility. So that's what we're going to do today. As far as the momentum goes, right, we're going to play with what that pattern feels like. So I'm going to make this super easy, everybody, because everybody knows how to do a kettlebell swing, right? We all know how to use our hips. Our hips do the work. So if you just continue that, hold one of these clubs on the side of you. Make sure you got room behind you. Make sure you're not going to hit anything. And just hinge those hips. Hinge, come forward. You're going to feel your hips start doing the work. Use those hips to help you create that pattern that you want. Sync it with your breath too. So it's breath in, breath out. Get that core strong. And you're using that momentum to get it up above the head, right? Think about that stability, that core. We're gonna swing in front of us, and I want you to feel the balance in each foot. As you swing, you're gonna feel your weight shifting in your feet. Let that shift happen. Let the shift happen. And then when you start feeling confident and good, start adding rotation, right? Rotate those feet. That's gonna take you to those patterns. Rotating the feet. Let me get in here. And then to add more rotation, you work on breath. So you use breath in on the back swing, out on the front swing. Control, I'm gonna rotate through my feet and core, and I'm gonna let it go. And then let it carry me up. It's like you're throwing a hatchet. Squat, hinge. So squat, I'm gonna reach these in front of me, I'm gonna squat. Hinge, I'm gonna reach them behind me, high hinge. Squat, hinge. Squat, hinge. And that's it. Tap, 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 tap. When you feel good, start adding speed to it. Get those hips to start working. So generally when I want someone to carry these also, you know, I'm carry over their head with it, but I'm using my body to get them up over the head. At no point did I try to lift it. All right, so it's all momentum. Because generally when we throw anything we do, we always want this spiral effect to it. So we're throwing that ball, we want to see their whole body rotate. We don't want to see them here, because that puts a lot of stress right at that back every time. So we need those hips, so that's why that teaches their hips to start to move. This way, go and grab kind of a heavier one if you have one. I call these the sword carriers, right? So now we're going to use this mace, club, to prep us into mace halos, the mace 360. That's what everybody wants to do, right? So when you do that, like, cool, yeah, let's do that. Let's work on controlling this. So keep those arms up, elbows up. Whatever hand's on top, generally that's the way the club's gonna go. It's gonna go that way. So for right now, just work on control, back, control, back. Learn what that feels like. Feel that. Try to get away from your body. Whoo. Feel it. Play with the weight. Play with that weight. But again, as you do it, what's the number one focus we start with first? Feet. And then core. It trickles up, right? So for feet are engaged where they need to be, we're going to set tension through the ground. And now what I tell clients is, hey, I want you to own the ground you're standing on, and you're holding on to this guy. This is you. You own this. Don't let it take you where it needs to go. We're going to do this real quick. We're going to work into the Mace 360s, but we're going to do this with this first. We're going to do what's called a pendulum. So I want you to do, you're going to take this club, you're going to reach it above the head and take it behind you. But as you do this, you notice my core didn't move. So I bend my knees a little bit, keep my pelvis neutral to the ground, let it hang behind you. Hold on, just let it hang there. Let it hang there. We're just going to pendulum it. Let it swing. Look for it in that little window gap, the gap between your elbow and your shoulder. Let it swing behind you. Get comfortable swinging, because that's what it needs to do. And come up. But you notice, I'm not using any muscle. Well, technically I am, but I'm using the range, the mobility, the momentum to do what I need to do. Getting my core, sit at tension, get your knees out. Own the ground you're on. If you're in Air Maxes, you probably have no force in the ground right now. Doing those things over your head will expose shoulder mobility or lack of shoulder mobility, right? Because the moment you go over the head, what happens here to get there, right? So two things, it's a chicken or the egg. Do you need to make sure shoulder mobility is good? Yes, for sure. But also this will help shoulder mobility. So just like you're gonna dig a hole, right? You're down here, you grab this end of the shovel and you pick it up. So now we're gonna hold it here. Now we're gonna create this stable core. We're gonna put our feet through the ground. We're gonna get our pelvis neutral to the ground. We're gonna hold this tight to our body. We're gonna create this stable platform. It's gonna feel fun with the big weight. And we're gonna do a squat. We're teaching you guys how to squat. Keep it strong, keep it tight to you. Not out here, pull it towards you. Come back up, and we're gonna go up to what's called a prayer position. Come and hold it right here, and then switch it. Prayer to switch. Grab it, engage tight, pull yourself down to the ground, and then back and forth. Just start playing with that switch, and it's kind of a ballistic switch, right? Like you're gonna feel that head carry you down. What are you doing? You're controlling that head. You fight it. You don't let that momentum carry you. You fight that momentum. To the prayer position, and now we're gonna do the pendulums. So we're gonna take this guy, I'll show you from the back, we're gonna push it up behind the head here, we're gonna get into that nice set position with our hips and core, and walk it fist over fist, hand over hand. Keep your hands behind your head though, not up here, behind the head. Get to the end, you're gonna start to switch, you're gonna start to pendulum it. Let it swing. Move the head, and look for the head in that window between your elbow and your shoulder. Look for the head there. Control that core. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So if you're sitting there with duck butt, that'll happen. That's the perfect one to play with, right? And I do it in drills, so let's do it all as a drill. If you need a lighter one, grab it real quick, because we're gonna do a few rounds of this. So we're gonna grab this, and I say a few as in two. So we're gonna grab this, get those hips, tuck that pelvis, Reach it up behind the head, walk it down, hand over hand. Let's go 30 seconds. Is there a clock somewhere? Let's count in our head. Just look for that head. And then when you're done, ideally, make sure you got space. Ideally, you're gonna whip it around because you've built up that energy from the pendulum. You're gonna whip it around, so don't hit your buddy or yourself. So now what? I'm gonna use the pendulum. Let it. So now, just like the club, right? Left hand's on top, I'm pushing to my right. Control. Control. We did, I call this the sword pose, right? But every hand's on top. My left hand's on top, I'm gonna push it to my right. So it's gonna go to my right, and then that head just gonna get swung around me. I'm literally just letting it do the job of the motion. This is the head's on my left, so I'm gonna step out with my right, and I'm gonna aim that head down. And now look, I'm getting a nice stretch in my bicep, and I'm gonna pull it right back up. Right back up. Right, so working on practicing that. You notice when I go down here, my mace is even parallel with my leg. Right, I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing this. I'm actually reaching, extending that elbow. Coming back. And this leads to that. Boom, boom. They call that joust. Right, and I'm not gonna do this as heavy. If I had a lighter one, I would slide it here. Right? Like it's like anything. Anytime you learn something, right? It's like, okay, let me go through the process. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Cool.